Hello and welcome to Bilingual Analytics. My name is Roland, and in today's video I'm going to talk about time intelligence in Power BI. As a business analyst, I know that in most cases we are interested in our company's performance compared to another time period. Companies like to compare results from this year to last year, current month to previous month, or year to date versus last year to date. Of course, we can create analysis over time and measures like the one I mentioned before in Excel, but you will always need to rely on either side calculations or helper cells. In addition to that, it has a potential to break as soon as report users start slicing and dicing the report. To create a date-based comparison analysis in Power BI is a million times easier, thanks to time intelligence. Long story short, Power BI can easily handle calculations based on dates. This sounds great, but where do we even start? Let's jump over my PC and I'll show you. Let's begin by creating our date table in Power BI. There are many ways of creating a date table that we can use in Power BI. But today I'm going to show you one of the easiest options, which is creating it with DAX. We click on Modeling and New Table. Now we can start running some DAX formula. So let's call our table Date. And we start with the Calendar Auto function. This will scan through your model and it will find all date type fields. Based on them, it will create a continuous list of dates from first day till the last day. Actually, it creates all dates for the years included in your model. Let's head over to the data view and see what's going on. This is a continuous date field, and for time intelligence to work properly, that's exactly what we need. We now have a table with a single date column. It is useful for time intelligence, but not too great when it comes to data visualization. So it's time to expand this table. We can easily do that with some additional columns here. Of course, again, I'm going to use DAX. Now we added year, quarter, month and month number with DAX. And why do we need month number? Because month by default would be sorted alphabetically and we don't want to do that. Let's have a quick look. So if we bring it into any visuals, it will start from April. Let's quickly change the sort order for the month. And voila, we have months sorted the right way. Do you want to further enhance your date table? You can easily add financial date, public holidays, and any other date-related information that you want or need. All of those can be used to enrich user experience and to help to answer different business cases. Just a quick recap on where we are. We created our date table in Power BI, we have calendar year, quarter and month that we can use for data visualization. And now it is time to start working on our measures. But before we do that, there are two more things to do here. First, marking our newly created calendar as a date table. So let's click on the date and on the ribbon click on the table tools and mark as date table. Select the date column and hit OK. And the other one is to create a relationship between the date table and sales table. There is an entire suite of time intelligence functions, but today I'm only going to show you a handful of them. The ones I use most often and consider the most useful ones. I like to start with the total quantity measure. Once we create that, we can reference it, as in Power BI, we can reuse our measures. So I right click on the sales table, click on new measure and total quantity. It is just a sum of invoiced quantity. So the first time intelligence function that we're going to explore today is year to date. Now, once again, we right click on the sales table, new measure, and year to date quantity. We are going to rely on a calculate function. We are going to use the total quantity measure that we created. As I said, we can reuse it. And we are going to go ahead with the dates year to date time intelligence function in Power BI. We add our date, the date field itself, and just like that, within a couple of clicks and a little bit of DAX, we have our first time intelligence function ready. We can see a beautiful year-to-date graph popping up within a click of a button. Our second calculation is going to be last year, year-to-date. So we right-click on the sales table again, new measure, last year, year-to-date quantity. Start with the calculate function again. We have the year-to-date quantity that we already created as a measure. And once again, we are just reusing measures in Power BI. And we use same period last year. Once again, we use the date field. And just like that, we have last year, year-to-date as well. Let's add that to our visual. One way to easily see this and make it a little bit nicer is to slice and dice it. One way to make this visual look a bit nicer is excluding future time periods, meaning anything after June 2020. We can do that by creating a current month's quantity measure, and we can add that to the filters. So let's create our current month's quantity measure. Now remember, we have to use the total quantity because we are going to filter the time periods using a time intelligence function. This time we are going to use dates month to date. And if we add that to the filters and say that it's greater than 0, look at this. Now this visual looks a million times better and just more logical. Now that we have created this current month measure, let's create two more month-based measures. One of them is going to be previous or last month, and the other one is going to be same month but in the previous quarter. Previous month quantity. And this time around, we are going to use a previous month time intelligence function. Let's add those two to a table. Let me change the format for those two measures, just to make sure that it's actually easier for us to visually validate those numbers. And as I said, the last measure that I'm going to create today using the time intelligence functions is going to be same month number in previous quarter. Now for this one, I'm going to use the most flexible time intelligence function. It's called the date add. Here you can define the number of intervals that you want to change. So as I said, we want it to go back 3 months. So I'm going to say -3. And for the intervals, I'm going to select month. And now if you have a look, the same month's previous quarter is just going to help us to identify seasonalities between quarters. To me, these measures just seems to be working fine. We have all these great and easy to use DEX formulas to achieve date-based calculations. The best part is that once you have created all of these measures, you can be 100% sure that report users cannot break them. It doesn't matter how they slice and dice the report, these measures are always going to work. And now it's time to share some best practices. First of all, you should never ever use a fact table dates field as the basis of your time intelligence function. The reason behind that is if an individual day is missing, your calculation could break. Secondly, just like any other dimension tables, date table has to have a relationship with your fact table. It must be a single filter direction, as you don't want your fact table to accidentally filter out dates. Once you have created that relationship, make sure to hide all date fields in your fact table so report users won't be confused in which date to use for filtering. If you have already used a fact table date to create your time intelligence calculations, I would strongly encourage you to recreate them, now that you know more about time intelligence. Of course, there are heaps more to learn about time intelligence, and I hope that you will be brave enough to explore more after learning the basics from this video. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope that you learned something new about time intelligence in Power BI, and you will be able to utilize this knowledge. If you like the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new episode. Stay tuned for more to come. Until then, see ya!